Trust is not a virtue. It is a transaction, and most people are bankrupt before they even know they're trading. The naive believe trust is earned through time. Loyalty, they think, accumulates like interest. Be kind long enough, and the world owes you safety. This is the lie the emotional class tells itself to sleep at night. It is comforting. It is also a leash, handed willingly to whoever is smart enough to pick up the other end. The strategist does not think in years. He thinks in leverage. He asks not, how long have I known this person, but what does this person stand to gain the day they stop needing me? Niccolo Machiavelli watched Florence eat its own princes. He watched men who trusted too freely get strangled by the very allies they refused to suspect. He did not write The Prince as cruelty for its own sake. He wrote it because he had counted the bodies of men who mistook trust for strategy and strategy for friendship. His thesis was cold, and it has never once been disproven. Trust is the cheapest weapon in the room, because the man who gives it away for free has already told you exactly where to cut him. This is the truth the calculated elite understood 5 centuries ago, and the truth the emotional lower class still refuses to learn today. Florence, early 16th century, a city of merchant princes and poisoned wine. The Medici did not rule through armies alone. They ruled through information, through favors extended with invisible strings, through smiles that cost nothing and revealed nothing. Behind closed doors, trust was never a feeling. It was a ledger. Every alliance had a price. Every confidence shared was a chip laid on a table, and the players who survived were the ones who never forgot which chips were theirs to lose. Consider Cesare Borgia, the man Machiavelli studied most closely, the closest thing to a living case study in The Prince. When Borgia conquered the Romagna, he installed a governor named Remirro de Orco to crush the region into order through brutal, efficient cruelty. De Orco did exactly what he was hired to do, and once the people's hatred for that cruelty had served its purpose, Borgia had him publicly executed and left in 2 pieces in the town square, a note of blame pinned beside the body. The people, horrified and satisfied at once, transferred their trust entirely to Borgia. De Orco had trusted that loyal service would be repaid with loyalty. It was repaid with a knife. Machiavelli did not record this as a tragedy. He recorded it as a masterclass. Trust extended upward, from servant to prince, is always the most fragile trade on the table, because the prince alone controls when the debt comes due. Or take the Pazzi Conspiracy of 1478, a plot hatched inside Florence's own cathedral, by men the Medici had dined with, done business with, extended favor to for years. Giuliano de' Medici was stabbed 19 times during Easter Mass by men who had shared his table the week before. His brother Lorenzo survived only because the assassins assigned to him hesitated at the altar. The lesson history rarely states plainly: proximity is not proof of loyalty. The men closest to you have the clearest angle to strike. Trust did not fail the Medici because they were foolish. It failed because trust, by its nature, requires proximity, and proximity is the exact condition a blade requires. Walk into any modern institution, and the game has not changed, only the furniture. Executives who build trust with their teams are not being kind. They are gathering intelligence. Politicians who connect with voters are not being vulnerable. They are calibrating exactly how much exposure buys how much compliance. The corporation that brands itself transparent has simply found a cheaper way to purchase your loyalty than paying you what you're worth. Human resources departments exist, structurally, to make the employee feel safe enough to disclose, and every disclosure becomes a data point the institution can use when it needs to, whether in a review, a layoff, or a lawsuit. Trust, in these rooms, is not the opposite of strategy. It is the delivery mechanism for it. Machiavelli did not invent this game. He simply refused to look away from it. Law 1. Concealment is not dishonesty. It is architecture. The amateur believes that hiding your intentions makes you a liar. The strategist knows that revealing your full hand makes you a target. Machiavelli's prince never announced his plans before they were executed. He let the outcome speak, because outcomes cannot be argued with, and intentions always can. Every piece of information you surrender is a door you've built into your own walls. The naive open every door out of politeness. The elite build hallways that lead nowhere. Notice how the truly powerful answer questions in public, vaguely, warmly, and completely without content. That is not evasiveness. That is a locked door, dressed as hospitality. And here is what should unsettle you. The people you trust most completely are the ones with the clearest map of exactly how to hurt you. Law 2. Every relationship is transactional, whether you admit it or not. The emotional class recoils from this. They want to believe love, friendship, loyalty exist outside the economy of exchange. They do not. Machiavelli watched allies switch sides the moment the math changed, and he did not call them evil. He called them accurate. Venice, Milan, Naples, the Papal States. Every alliance among them lasted exactly as long as it benefited both parties, and dissolved the instant it didn't, regardless of treaties signed or blood shared. Popes armed their enemies' enemies. Republics funded the mercenaries who would later besiege them. Nobody in that era pretended these were friendships. Only in the modern world do we insist on calling transactions relationships, and then act shocked when the transaction ends. Look closer at how the pivot actually happens, because it is never announced. It arrives disguised as circumstance. The business partner who suddenly finds a conflict of interest. The friend who becomes unreachable the week your usefulness to their career ends. The family member who rediscovers loyalty only once an inheritance is on the table. None of these people would describe themselves as opportunists. They would describe themselves as reasonable. That is the pivot's real danger. It does not feel like betrayal to the person committing it. It feels like adaptation. Machiavelli's insight was not that people are cruel. It was that people are rational. And rationality, unchecked by loyalty that costs something, always drifts toward self-interest the instant the incentive shifts. The moment you extend trust without asking what the other party gains from honoring it, you have not built a relationship. You have made a donation, and donations are not returned. The strategist asks one question before offering anything. What does this person lose if they betray me? If the answer is nothing, the trust was never real. It was a wish wearing a disguise. Law 3. When betrayal comes, and by the numbers, it will, respond without spectacle. Machiavelli's prince did not rage. He did not plead for explanations. He recalculated, and he acted, swiftly and without theater, because emotion announces itself, and announcements give your enemies time to prepare. The cold execution is not about revenge. Revenge is loud, and loud things get noticed, remembered, retaliated against. Cold execution is about correction, removing the liability quietly before it costs you twice. This is why the prince who survives is rarely the one who punishes hardest. He is the one who punishes fastest, before the betrayal has time to metastasize into a wider rebellion, a wider whisper campaign, a wider loss of face. Watch how this plays out in practice, not theory. The executive who discovers a leak does not call a meeting to accuse the room. She quietly narrows access, reroutes information, and lets the leak starve on its own before anyone realizes the tap has been shut. The investor who is betrayed by a partner does not sue first. He exits the position, moves the capital, and only afterward, if ever, lets the lawyers speak. Noise is a resource spent on an audience. Machiavelli's prince understood that an audience cannot help you win. It can only watch you decide whether you're the kind of person who wins quietly or loses loudly. Cold execution is not the absence of feeling. It is the refusal to let feeling set the timeline. Understand this. Every person you have ever fully trusted was, whether you admit it now or not, a calculated risk you priced incorrectly. Some of those debts have not come due yet. Here is the ultimatum. Keep handing out trust like currency you did not earn, and you will keep discovering, usually too late, usually in public, exactly how expensive free things can be. The cost is never paid by the person who deceives you. It is paid by the version of you that believed deception required effort. It does not. It requires only your willingness to look away. Machiavelli did not tell the world to abandon trust. He told the world to stop giving it away for free. Price it. Guard it. Watch what people do when trusting you costs them nothing versus what they do when it costs them everything. That gap is the only truth that has ever mattered. He wrote it once, and it has outlived every empire built on the opposite belief. It is better to be feared than loved. If you cannot